Chapter 26. Damien POV. Hehe, no one will save you now, I said in a rather slow and intimidating tone as I saw the shocked audience. No one will move. No one will call for backup. You will all sit down. 3 simple instructions rang out from my lips as 99% of the people sat their asses back down. The dragons too heeded my words, though their expressions were quite varying. Why am I sitting? What did you do? The older dragon asked. A younger female noble who was seated also spat out. A mere commoner. I will have your entire family hanged. I just ignore their words as I direct my gaze to another pirate above. One who seems to have blocked off my voice. I squinted my eyes as I recalled his appearance. You're Captain John, no? He smirked. Johohoho, indeed. And you are that kid from Rox D. Zebek's crew. What are you planning here? I simply smirked and replied, Rahaha, well, nothing much. Just taking out the trash. The nobles immediately freeze as they heard my words. Heck, the younger dragon who wanted the mermaids even leaked his pants. Though I wonder if you will get in the way. I asked the pirate. This guy is a future member of the Rox Pirate, though I have no clue when and how he joined. John just leisurely waved his hand. Johohoho, I never really liked these noble pigs, I just want the treasure these guys stock up in the back, Johoho. He continued drinking as he got up and walked down. I nodded, do as you wish. I turned my eyes to the 3 mermaids and walked up. Please, let my sister go. You can do whatever you want with me. One of them yelled out. Oh Oni-san, no. The sister shook her head as tears fell from her eyes. The other mermaid was just looking at me with fear. I ignored their pleas and sent out a wave of pulverizing energy that shattered the fish tanks. Glass breaking. The water spilled out as they too fell down. Wait here, I said in a plain voice as they did as I said. I kept walking to the back of the auction hall and entered the holding chamber. 30 cages lined up. Humans, minks, demi-humans, even a few children. Many people sat, some afraid, some serious, some curious. You all are free to go, I casually said as I sent out a wave of pulverizing energy that hit the cages. Creak. The iron bars were nothing tough, they cracked and shattered away as the slaves were freed. The people inside first thought it to be some sort of trick. But one by one they did slowly walk out and revel in relief. A few guards were standing around, their guards were up. Jingle. The sound of keys attracted my attention as I saw the head guard slowly stepping back. I smiled at him. You, come here. I pointed my right finger at him and gestured for him to come here. And so he did. Unlock all their collars. He nodded and got to work. Why, young friend, thank you for your kindness. A koala-type mink slowly said as he bowed his head. The other 30 or so did the same. This is as far as I will go to free you. I have given you freedom, it's on you to keep it, henceforth. My eyebrow went up as I recalled something. Oh yeah. Do run away fast, you have a few hours till the Marines come here. I broke open the back door and let them slip out. I looked at the 5 guards. If anyone calls, tell them the dragons are all safe and sound. They nodded absently. I can stop the Admiral call for a few hours till they send out Marines to find them. Should be enough till we reunite at Grove 44. I was about to walk out of the auction, back to the mermaids with the keys until I felt a presence in one of the cages. I tilted my head slightly. Hey, kid, aren't you gonna run away? You're free now, I asked the small silhouette in the back end of the cage as he seemed to be sleeping. Yawn. Ah, right, I forgot I was here, the kid said in a groggy tone as he stood up. He had a blue eye cover on his face. Puffy black hair on the sides and a lean and slender build. Ah, who are you again? He asked in a lazy tone. How long has this kid been sleeping here? Ha, this is the human auction house on Sabodi Archipelago, you were caged up here. You're free now, so run along. He squinted his eyes and stared at me. He then pulled down his eye cover and laid back down and started sleeping. A tick mark formed on my forehead as this brat ignored me. TCH, OYY kid. Don't you want to be free? Without moving he answered. Ah, right. He then jumped out of his little bed and walked out with one eye peeking out the eye cover. Let's go then. I looked at him beside me. He looked around 7 to 8 years old. But he was around 4 feet 8 in height. You're coming with me, I asked him. Well, either that or I am going back to sleep. I would rather go with a marine, but you don't seem so bad, Pirate San. I sighed. Fine, whatever, I'll drop you off somewhere. I walked back out. The kid lazily walked behind me. The audience was still there. But All their jewelry and accessories were gone. John stood with a giant sack on his shoulders. Joho. Quite the haul. I owe you one, kid. He laughed on as he walked out the hall like Santa with his crew. Click. I unlocked the collars of the mermaids and smiled. Follow me, I'll take you to the sea away from the Marines. They teared up and nodded vigorously. Ladies, kid, you might want to turn around for this. I then turned my attention to the 120 or so audience members. As for all of you filth. I put my left hand on my left eye in a dramatic scene. My inner Lelouch came forth as I said in a powerful tone. Damien commands you, all of you, die. A dense wave of pulverizing energy shot out of my body, spreading to all those in front of me. It raged onwards, crushing the ground apart, the seats were blown apart, the entire hall was destroyed. The people, their bodies glowed red for an instant as they felt the weight of the world compressing them from all sides. Their skin pushed into their body, their bones pushed into the marrow. Their eyeballs squeezed till they popped like a grape as the eye juice dribbled out. Their skull compressed their brains, their heads exploded like watermelons. Blood streamed out of the hall as the walls were painted in red. The only ones left were the mermaids and the dragons and their slaves. I looked at the slaves that were chained up, obediently kneeling below the nobles. I destroyed their shackles. Get up. They looked up with despairing gazes yet with a hint of joy. But before that, I put my hands on the heads of the two younger dragons. Crumble. Eeughh. Sstoah. Peepleaaahh. They writhed in unimaginable pain as they quivered on the ground. This is what I used on Lerone. But the second and more improved version. The first one focused on constant compression of nerves just before they could pop, causing a lot of pain. This one was a bit different. It sent a ripple that exponentially grew in intensity. The nerves were slowly overloaded with my pulverizing energy as they rippled through the nervous system. After 5 or so seconds the nerves would explode in a flare, causing endless agony. After that, another wave of anti-pulverizing energy would restore the nerves back to their initial condition. The earlier wave of crushing energy would then ripple back and destroy the nerves once more. And restore it again. This would then continue on and on for around 3 minutes till it would run out. Stop. How dare you? I will have you burned alive. The older dragon who I saved for last started to scream as he saw his precious children in torment. I walked up to him and pat his head twice. Crumble. X2. He commanded the slaves to do a little something with the dragons off stage. You'll find out what it was soon. The kid, and the 3 mermaids walked out with varying expressions. I was yawning with a smile, the kid was conflicted, the mermaids were a bit perplexed as they had seen the display as we walked out. But they weren't overly afraid of me. I dropped the girls at the edge of the grove. All right, swim along now. They bowed their heads slightly as they thanked me and swam away. We were now standing at an abandoned port by the side. You think I went too far with the nobles? I asked him. He looked at me without the lazy gaze and answered after a few seconds. Not really. I can tell they went through great pain, but, for what they do to the other innocent people, they deserve it. I smiled and chuckled. You have a nice sense of justice, kid. What's your plan now? He looked up. Maybe join the Marines, but, maybe. He couldn't seem to form his mind as he looked at the ground in great thought. I sat down on the dock with him and asked him further. What's your story, kid? How'd you end up there in the first place? A second of silence. My father. He sold me away. A second of silence. My mother died early on. My father was broken by it. We were poor, really poor. My father could not pay for our living, or rather he used all the money for alcohol and drugs. I tried to protect my sister, she was pure and innocent. My father was always drunk and used to beat us. My sister, even with the bruises and all her pain, still smiled and wished me a good night every single day. A second of silence, until one day he ran out of money. The next thing I knew was that I was sitting with my sister with a bunch of grown men around. They talked about prices. 100,000 berries for goods. A bonus was girl and whatnot. The kid kept looking down to the swaying waters. He was planning on selling us away. I got angry. Really angry and waited in silence. The men left for a day and said they'd return in an hour with a ship. The kid gritted his teeth. That hour, I took out a rusty knife and drove it through his heart. A second of silence. I killed my father and tried to run away, but my sister was too weak, too frail, too malnourished to run. I picked her up and ran to the docks. I asked an elderly couple if they could take her with them. And they did. But they were poor too. I gave them all the little money we had left. I ran back to the house, taking out the stuff that belonged to our mother. My sister always loved my mother's items. I couldn't just leave it. But at that moment the men came back. They saw the scene and shook their heads. I was the only one left, so they dragged me away. I was practically a free good for them. He sniffled and continued. I was happy though. Happy that I could save my sister and kill that terrible excuse of a father. I wanted to save people. I want to give justice for the wronged. But now I realize that that is just a dream. I don't know what to do. Pirate San. He had his hand on his face as he wiped away his tears. His mind is strong, yet he has no path. His heart is quite pure. He wants vengeance for himself but justice for others. This type of past, it makes a good marine, or a very good pirate. I sighed out loud. Say, kid, you never told me your name. He looked up at me with dried tears. Well, I abandoned my birth name. We grew to hate our surname. He shook his head in denial and looked at me with a resolute gaze. I and my sister changed our names to forget that man as much as we could. Just call me Kuzan. Author's Corner. P.S. His name is Kuzan. Aokiji is just an alias for the Marines. Honestly, I feel like Aokiji is the best of the original 3 admirals. He has his own code. He saved Robin. He let Strafutz leave. He left the Marines since Akainu's philosophy contradicted his. He's a man of reason. He won't kill innocents but rather seek his own path, even if it means to abandon everything he worked for. This is my iteration of his childhood, not canon of course. Chapter 27. You can call me Kuzan. Nani. This kid is Kuzan, as in Admiral Aokiji. Now that I look at him, the lazy attitude, the eye cover, the hair, the build. Is this fate? That fruit I got from my home island and now the actual future user. Kuzan, you say that you crave justice for the weak. The Marines, with your heart you can easily rise through the ranks, but at the top, you will realize that there are some things that cannot be changed from within. The tree that is the world government is rotten from the roots. The only way to ever truly change it would be to uproot the entire tree at once. I proclaimed. I won't push you in any direction, but I want you to see both sides. Marines are not always the good guys and pirates are not always the bad guys. I became a pirate to overcome my own weakness and to chase true freedom. I continue with a sharp gaze beyond the seas. I can't say that I am a good person, but I do not go around enslaving or killing innocents. I won't be hypocritical and say that pirates are better than Marines, because they are not. However, it is your heart that defines who you are, not how the world labels you in the newspapers. I gazed straight into his eyes and asked. So instead of answering your question, I will ask you. What exactly do you wish this world to become? Kuzan's eyes widened upon hearing my words. I wish so that no child has to experience what I did. I know you cannot remove disorder, but things like slavery, genocide for the greater good, slaughtering the innocents should be expelled. He said. I went over his words and found the best approach. Who wouldn't want a future admiral-level figure to join your crew? And other than that, Kuzan is different than Akainu and Kizaru. Aokiji has his own sense of justice. He left the navy since he knew that Akainu's justice was too extreme and went against his own. The events at Ohara prove that. His view is not restricted to good versus bad, but rather what he himself feels is right. I trust that with what I have said that he will choose the correct option. Then, Kuzan, I have a proposition for you. Kuzan heard my words and said, so you want me to train on some abandoned island for a handful of years and then join your crew later on? That's right, I can influence sea kings with my ability and have other animals watch your progress. You can first follow a training routine that I will give you and then build your battle experience over time with other native monsters. I will make my own crew in 5 to 7 years from now. By then I want you ready for the seas. I said, once your body is ready, then I will give you a gift that I'm sure you'd like. But if you fail to meet my expectations, then you can forget attaining your wish. I finished my explanation with an indifferent tone. I must break him and put him back together before giving him that fruit. Kuzan was sitting by me on the dry docks, his long legs swaying above the water. He was not carrying his usual bored expression and went over my words. I accept. But I hope you won't just leave me there to rot. Wait, that doesn't sound so bad. I can sleep all day then. He droned on. Smack. I lightly slapped the back of his head and scolded him, don't even think of it. You will sleep 8 hours a day. You will eat 5 times before said sleep. You will hunt your own food. You will find your own shelter. And you will spend the rest of the time training like hell. His jaw dropped at my words. Sleep. 8 hours. Only 8 hours. That's barely even enough to be called a nap. My face twitched at his exclamation. Heis, kid. 8 hours is more than enough for you. So, you agree, or should I take you to the Marines base at Grove 66? I asked him. Kuzan then turned to me. His lazy expression vanished as he gazed into my eyes with no hint of hesitation and asked. You really intend to change this world for the better? I nodded. Well, it's in the same direction as my true destination, so why not? I agree, but I will go after I yawn sleep for a few more hours. With that said, he pulled down his eye cover and laid down on the docks and drifted to sleep. A tic formed on my forehead as I saw his behavior. Come. A small group of Sea King rose from below. I grabbed Kuzan by the neck and threw him to one of the Sea King. Though he was still asleep when he landed. The 10 of you, make sure you take him to that island. If he gets hurt, then I will personally eat you in front of your children. The Sea Kings visually gulped and lowered their heads in submission. See you in a few years, kid. Don't die, I shouted out as the Sea Kings swam away. I had sent Kuzan to an island I had heard from Shaki. Its danger level was far below Rusukaina, but it had its fair share of obstacles. No inhabitants, terrible weather, many monsters, perfect place for a 7-year-old to live. I had sent a message for the Sea Kings to look after him, they will then convey it to the trees and wildlife there too. So he should be perfectly fine in training. Some birds will report weekly for me to track his progress. Marineford. 4 hours past the auction house incident. Fleet Admiral, we have sightings on the rocks pirates. What are your orders? Vice Admiral Wren questioned the man in the chair over the snail. Have your forces ready. I want you to first go and find all the world nobles and secure them. Then prepare your troops, I will send Admiral Sengoku. Kong's words were cut as he got another call from a red snail. Hold for a bit. He then moved to the other phone and answered. This is Fleet Admiral Kong. What are your wishes, Gorosei-sama? He asked in a resolute tone. Kong, a voice said. We have lost contact with 3 celestial dragons on Sabodi Archipelago, a different voice continued. We must ensure their safety first and foremost. Do not provoke Zebek. We cannot allow that incident from the past to repeat. Send an admiral, not to capture the Rock's crew, but only to locate the missing nobles. Do not fail us, Kong. The 5 voices that seemed to change every sentence finally stopped. They did not wait for Kong to answer and ended the call. Damn it, Kong muttered. He then picked up the other snail. Ren Chuho, I will send Sengoku over. I want you to pull back all forces and focus on locating the 3 nobles. Your job is not to watch over the Rock's crew but to find the dragons. Get to it, he ordered the man. Hi, Gensui Dono. I know some of you will say, shouldn't they have vivre cards for the nobles? But I want you to know that in this current the nobles have been untouched and unprovoked for decades now. Zebek's killing in the West Blue is excluded as they were far from marine backup. God Valley has yet to happen and pirates aren't that ballsy yet. They don't expect any resistance on Sabayati as it is very close to Marijoy. Hence the lack of vivre cards. Naturally this can be challenged by you, the readers, but it is the case right now. I am just filling a plot hole you all may call upon. Grove 53, Damien POV. 4 hours have passed from my little escapade in Grove 1. I am now next to Shaki as we make our way to the rendezvous point at Grove 44. She had a side bag with some stuff she had bought recently tugged under her left arm. The road was simple grass with some small shops nearby. Though Grove 53 is in the shipyard area, so it was a bit swampy with large trees around us. So you're telling me that you tortured 3 nobles and left them to the hands of their own slaves, Damien-chan? She asked with a smile. Well yeah, it was a spur-of-the-moment kind of thing, I said lightly as I looked over to the other side, refraining from eye contact. You foo-foo-foo, well actually you should be relieved. Your little impulse might have saved us from some trouble. It seems that they do not know where the nobles are, so they believe Zebek is holding them hostage. With this, we can get off this archipelago without fighting any marines. So, good job, she chuckled. I was a bit shocked but played it cool. Rah ha ha, that was all intentional Shaki nay. I thought it's best to allow the old men to rest a bit. She just laughed as we kept making our way over. But what exactly did you go and buy while I was gone? I asked her. She tapped the bag under her arm. They are eternal poses for many islands. Also, a few 3-needle log poses. I can't steer the ship based on impulse, the new world is far too chaotic for such things. I nodded at her words, the sea beyond this point is far too messed up for one to wander in, even with emperor-level figures on board. We then entered an area with dozens of trees surrounding us. FWU, Shaki's eyes glowed red as she turned her gaze to the large tree to the far left. At the same time, I heard a voice. Watch out Lord, there is a human with bad intention here. It was the voice of the tree, Kenny of the Urukiman mangrove trees, who had warned me. The tree wasn't the large tree but a smaller sub-tree in the small little forest. Whoosh, I followed Shaki's eyes as I saw a metallic shine whizzing towards me. Clang. The sound of metal hitting metal was heard as my blackened fist came in contact with some sort of purple projectile. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, clang clang clang. 3 more attacks cut through the air as I continued to block them with my hockey-clad fists. I traced my eyes to the trees as I saw a purple flash jump from branch to branch. Bounty hunter, I asked out loud. Shaki nodded as she took out her pistol. I saw the hunter's next move and traced a few meters forwards. My left hand shot out. Raging stream. A red, 10 feet wide stream of pulverizing energy shot out with endless momentum towards the tree. Boom. The ground was ripped apart and crushed as the trees were reduced to dust. All that was left was a circular open area in the small forest. Voosh. Another whizzing sound, and a thud as the hunter landed on the ground. You are that, Night Maiden. Bounty hunter. Shaki squinted her eyes. Her pistol was already pointed in the hunter's direction before she even fell to the ground. Oh, a female bounty hunter? I asked with a raised eyebrow. I looked over our guest. She had a full purple attire on. A purple hood donned over her body. And a purple scarf across her face, leaving only 2 violet eyes to see. The clothes were tight, they highlighted the girl's body yet they were rather underdeveloped. No. A little girl? I asked while tilting my head. The hunter's eyebrows scowled as she assumed a fighting stance. Are you underestimating me because of my gender? She asked with a young yet sharp voice. This chick sounds barely 15. I thought with some confusion. Though my train of thought was interrupted as Shaki said, watch out Damien-chan, she has a very unique Logia-type fruit power. Logia eh? I then looked at the girl, I have yet to fight a Logia yet. Say, little girl, how about you and me have a little duel then? You are after the price on my head no? I gave a little smile as I saw her squint her eyes. HMPH, alright then. I will turn in your head for a nice price. She said. Shaki moved to the side as she started smoking. The girl was around 7 feet. Quite tall for a girl, though she was far off my height. The girl clenched her fists as she shot forwards. Her hands glowed purple as she punched the young man. I squinted my eyes and met the attack head on. Boom. The fists collided as a purple and black fist clashed in the afternoon wind. The girl was blown back as she failed to measure up to my pure power. Logia or not, her physical capabilities were far off from me. Her fist, if not for the adrenaline, would probably be aching from the few bones I just broke. Thud. Landing 20 meters away on her feet, she made another move. A purple circle appeared below her feet as her entire body then turned into a violet element and submerged into the ground. She had completely vanished, so she can enter a different world with her fruit. It's like the mirror fruit but better. I concluded. I could not see her at all, I wonder if she can see me then. Mirror world is separate from the real world and connected by actual mirrors from the true world. With this, one can dive into a mirror and enter the mirror world, and exit the same way. The only way to see would be through that mirror. So I wonder how this girl's fruit works. My observation was mid-intermediate level so I can feel up to 20 meters in diameter, 32 feet in all directions. I concentrated on my sixth sense. I didn't feel anything as she was still in her fruit realm. Ting. But just a few feet away I felt a weird sense of movement behind me. A purple body shot out of the ground as it materialized and a purple dagger inched near my neck. Clang. Hardening. The purple dagger hit the back neck which had turned black as the attack halted in its path. Muda, I exclaimed as I took advantage of her momentarily lapse of attention. Soru, I whizzed from my position and appeared right behind her. Her eyes widened in shock as she felt my presence behind her. Bam! I drove my black fist straight into her spine as the girl was sent flying frontwards as large amounts of blood sprayed out of her mouth. Thud! The girl fell around 20 meters away on her face as she somersaulted another 5 meters, a trail of crimson following. There she laid, out of her Logia form, a purple-clothed young bounty hunter, unconscious. Era tilde how cruel to punch a young girl so brutally, Shaki said as she puffed a cloud of smoke out. I smirked. Ha, I for one, am a devout believer in gender equality. Kazuma would be proud, I thought as I gave myself a cultured nod. Author's Corner. Well, bounties aren't for a show, right? I mean, it's only natural for bounty hunters to try and take that off your head. It's not just a figure to make you look cool, or that is how it should be. Chapter 28, Night Maiden, was it? I asked Shaki. She took another large breath of smoke as she answered. Night Maiden, a bounty hunter of the Grand Line, known for her superior assassination and infiltration work. Logia fruit wielder, has a special ability to enter her own realm that is directly connected to the actual world. She continued after another puff of smoke. She has hunted pirates with bounties around 300 million before. But naturally lost to you as you can use hockey. She has never failed a hunt before, but that is due to her ignorance. I suppose she is a lot younger than the first estimate of around 30. I nodded at the words till the ones at the end, 30. Please, she should be barely half that. You can't get much by judging her height, but her voice and development of her body easily point to a girl in her mid-teens. I then wondered out loud, special Logia that can enter a different realm, this fruit is very powerful indeed. It's like the Yami no Mi in a way, as you can store things in the dark realm, and shoot it back out as Blackbeard did with the entire town when he fought Ace. Though the darkness fruit does not have a useful storage, rather one that destroys the things sucked in. This fruit is a bit different. It has intangibility and can access a reality in the same plane like this one. Shaki nodded at my words and said in a neutral tone, indeed. Puff, it should be the night fruit. Its price is quite high on the black market. Display her stats, Sybil. I asked in my head. Night Maiden, age, 15, height, 7 feet 1. Devil fruit. Night fruit L. Fruit rating, 6.5 stars. Hockey, NA. Strength, Yonko crew pirate. Age-wise indeed she is a bit older than me. Her fruit though is really powerful, the same rating as mine. Strength-wise she is lacking greatly, shows the difference between a hockey user and someone who isn't one. I deduced from our fight. Her fruit mastery seemed quite low as well. She barely even used the true prowess of a Logia, which is its fluidity. Expand on her fruit please, I said in my head. Night fruit Euro no Mi. Logia type, special elemental type. Fruit rating, star. Allows the user to become night itself. Can produce and control the element of the night. Allows the user to enter the night realm, which is in the same plane as the actual reality. When in this realm, all others outside will not see nor sense the user. The user in the night realm cannot attack others unless they exit from the realm. Inanimate things can be placed into the night realm but will not be treated as infinite storage but rather a second plane of reality. User becomes a night human. So the night realm thing can be used for easy infiltration as you just can't sense the person in it. This way she can only be sensed going in and out of the separate fruit realm. It's like the door fruit used by Bluno but far better. If she can get this to the awakened stage, then I wonder how OP this fruit would be. Outside my mind, Shaki was currently checking on the girl. You broke her spine, little Damien, she sighed. Whoops. I rubbed my nose, slightly embarrassed. Gun being unholstered, Shaki took out her pistol as a green glow emanated from the barrel. Bang! A jade-colored bullet shot out and went straight into the girl's forehead. Instead of a crimson shower spraying out, rather an odd thing occurred. The bullet, upon contact, dissolved like sugar in water. The bullet was absorbed into the girl's skin as a green flow went through her veins. Wow, I commented as I saw what happened next. The girl was barely breathing, her back was definitely snapped and crippled. Crack, I could hear bones breaking, or rather being put into place as her posture naturally fixed itself and her back straightened. The blood flowing out of her mask stopped as I could easily hear her heartbeat and breathing stabilize. Shaki nodded and holstered her gun. I tilted my head in confusion and asked, so what are we to do with her? Well, we can't just leave a defenseless little girl out in these empty woods now, can we? Pick her up, we'll take her to Grove 44. She instructed. Sigh. Fine. I turned her frontwards and put my hands behind her neck and waist and picked her up like a princess. HMPH, Princess Carrie. Nope. I then flung her over my left shoulder and rested my palm on her back to keep her from falling. Much better. Shaki looked at me with an amusing smile. Well, let's get going, Damien-chan. An hour later, I and Shaki had finally arrived at Grove 44. We had varying gazes from the many people along the way. Some citizens were staring with fear. Some with anger. Some with curiosity. Some with lust. As for the Marines, naturally, I noticed the many eyes from the dark alleys and whatnot. But they did not try to get in the way, but rather just reported it. We now stand in front of a very large pub, supposedly for the risky customers, though with the best booze. The outside was a dark red and black theme. The name read, The Bloody Hell, in a blood red font. Door opening sound. The two of us plus the baggage walked in and saw the inside. It was very big. Height-wise, it was at least 30 feet. Even Kaido would get in without any problem. The insides had many tables, some small, some large, and some huge. On the left end with the low lighting area sat our little party. Whitebeard, Zebek, Kaido, all drinking away. Gurug. Kaido kept drinking while the other two stopped and nodded to us. Thud. I threw the girl to the side seat and sat down with Shaki. Who's this, kid? Whitebeard asked. I looked at the unconscious girl. Bounty hunter, Night Maiden. She wanted the berries on our heads. Shaki nodded. Her fruit is quite useful. Logia type with a very powerful sub-ability. Zebek's eyebrow went up slightly. Oh, special Logia A. The only special Logia I have heard is the darkness fruit, night fruit, sun fruit, moon fruit, rumble fruit, and the swamp fruit. I squinted my eyes at his words. Darkness obviously, night yeah, sun and moon, no clue. Rumble fruit has the special ability to increase your observation haki to span literally an island. Swamp fruit has a storage ability. Whitebeard cut in. Gurug, you're saying we should bring this kid along? Shaki just shrugged as Zebek then asked. Shikuyaku, did ya get the log poses? She nodded. We're set to leave at any moment, and we should too. Little Damien here might have messed up a few nobles. All three of them looked at me. Gururara. Waro. Xahahaha. I wasn't wrong about you. I was speechless at their reaction. Shouldn't they ask what I did with them or something? Well, they are an eyesore anyway. But an admiral is probably going to come here soon once they find them. We should leave, I told them. Whitebeard nodded. Zebek yawned and then smiled like a beast in heat. Zaya, this presence, it's that Sengoku guy. His golden ass is always annoying to fight. I want to fight an admiral, Kaido complained as he fetched his club. They were about to leave till I asked, hey, what are we gonna do about this girl? Should I just leave her here? No, even as a pirate I can't leave a defenseless girl in this kind of bar. Shaki looked over and shrugged. The others had already left. Aw, for fuck's sakes. I then popped her over my shoulders as we walked out. Todd the Marine, POV. I am reporting to my boss as I see the group of monsters. Ren Chuho. The Rocks pirates, they have made it back to their ship. A voice then came back immediately. Did they have the nobles with them? The vice admiral asked in a hurry. I looked at the 5 people, the youngest of the group, Damien, he was carrying something on his shoulders. Chuho Dono, the pirate Damien seems to be carrying someone on his shoulders. I can't make out who it is, the person is entirely covered in a purple cloak. Vice Admiral Ren, POV. Purple cloak. Nani. Fine, just keep watch on them, tell me when they sail out. I told my subordinate as I jammed my snail to the desk. I then picked it back up and dialed another number. This is Admiral Sengoku, the powerful voice stated formally. I gulped. Anu. Sengoku Teisho, it's about the Rocks crew. From what we can tell is that the younger member, Damien, seems to be carrying a body on his shoulders, it's covered in a purple cloak. I continue, we can't tell who it is. And whether or not they are still alive. There was silence for a bit till the voice picked back up. Dash. On the other side of the line was a tall and muscular man with a marine coat draped on his shoulders. Sengoku squinted his eyes as he thought about what to do. This is troublesome. They have probably taken one celestial dragon as a hostage. He shook his head. To provoke Zebek would be foolish. The Gorosei are already quite angry due to the past incident with the two noble deaths a year back. He sighed in frustration. We cannot risk it. He then responded to the Vice Admiral. Ren Chuho, you are to remain there. Have your forces continue the search for the other two nobles. As for the one they have taken hostage, I will have to ask the Gorosei for orders. Sengoku said. Roger. Dash. Sabodi Archipelago. It is usually nice and pleasant here. However, a huge ship has currently started to sail, all the while a huge commotion is going off around the other parts of the island. 10 standard ships, 6 marine warships are docked all around the corners of the island. All ready to move out any second. Yet the order to sortie never came. Instead, the island's own marine base was running all around the outer areas, looking for two world nobles. Murphy the Marine, POV. This is Captain Murphy. We are now moving into the human auction house to continue the search. Reports have stated that Damien of the Essen exited from here. After the report, I gestured to my squad of 50 to move in. Boom. The door bashed open as we charged in, our rifles pointing straight out. Barf. 20 or so if my men vomit as I too feel my stomach churn as we gaze at the horror before us. The floors, the walls, the entire hall, it was painted in red. The 100 or so audience were littered around, their heads were no longer there. The ground was cracked all over, rivers of red flowed down as another terrifying sight stood before us. It was a nightmare. Chuho dono, I mutter out as I drop my rifle to the ground. What is it? The Vice Admiral asked. I think you can call off the search. For the nobles. Before me were 3 bodies. They had white suits on. Though covered in red, their helmets were long popped. The bodies though, their arms in angles I thought were not possible to attain. Their legs were bent and wrung out like a wire. Their chest was littered with thousands of small cuts, not enough to kill, but enough to cause terrible pain and endless bleeding. Their faces, black, blue, red, green, yellow. Many colors are present. The smell of iron, the smell of urine, and the smell of death. That is what we saw in this nightmare of a hall. It was truly a gruesome sight. Author's Corner. Well, they are en route to Fishman Island now. Nothing crazy happened in the chapter, though I think it is quite plausible for them to assume a noble as a hostage. After all, they are worth quite a lot. P.S. You can now assume that every dragon outside of Marijoy will always be tracked with a Vivre card henceforth. Chapter 29. Author note, I made a change. Garp, I had given him Conquerors at the start. I have now removed it now. But rather given him the ability to use his fighting spirit, like Zoro's Ashura, which would act like the aura of kings and suffocate others. TBH, I wanted him to have the third color of hockey and made him lose this ability after a certain event. However, I chose to remove it as it generated a few plot holes which I didn't feel like filling. So yeah, instead of Conquerors, he uses his fighting spirit, like Zoro's Ashura but 100x stronger, one that can rival Roger and Whitebeard. Damien POV. It's been 2 hours since we left, the bloody hell. Now we are boarding the Titanic, the girl is still on my shoulders. This chick, can't she wake up soon? I complained in my head. I then sigh, I felt someone looking at us as we boarded. Probably some marine who is trying to watch our movements. I wonder what Sengoku will do. Will he let us leave or attack now? I thought to myself as we walked on the deck and prepared to sail. I tossed the girl to the side and looked at Zebek who was cracking his knuckles. Tycho, don't we need to coat the ship first before diving 10,000 meters down? I asked. Zebek grinned and stood at the center of the deck. He extended both his arms out to the side and seemed to chuckle as he activated his fruit power. Dark purple miasma flooded out of his arms and created a bubble around his entire body. Death's cradle. His raspy voice sounded out as the bubble extended and grew quickly. This wasn't like before where it would wither away things just by being released but rather controlled to the point where it just holds. The purple bubble extended and didn't stop. 20 seconds later. Geez, this fruit control is crazy, I exclaimed as I saw the sight before me. His death bubble was now wrapped around the entire ship. Remember that this is no small ship. This is 600 feet in length and 200 feet tall. His fruit powers were now encasing the entirety of the Titanic as the ship began to sail. Shaki's voice then echoed through as the bubble did not allow the sound waves to escape out. Diving now. Upon her words I felt a shock over the ship as Whitebeard used his powers to quake away the sea below, causing our ship to fill the gap as we began to descend. Per up, the seawater constantly bubbled as a huge ship dove in. All the water, the fish, and the pressure were easily removed. It was constantly being withered away as Zebek's fruit bubble protected us from everything. Well, I guess there's no use for a coating. The ship was descending quite fast. We needed to dive to Fishman Island, which is around 10,000 meters down. In others' words, it should take us about half a day to get there. The remaining crew went off to their own things. I picked up the girl and took her down to the housing bay. I hate being a babysitter, but this girl's fruit power is quite elusive. I can't let her out of my sight. 4 hours later, I am in the lounge that is at the center of the housing bay. It's the first floor down from the top, rooms both left and right hallway with a sitting and chill area in the center, where I am. The girl was on the couch, still out. I was opposite her, reading a thick book I got from Shaki. It was the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. These fruits are quite mysterious. I wonder where they come from. They are called fruits, so maybe some devil fruit tree exists somewhere. I was caught up with the mystery of the fruit. After all, eating a shit-tasting fruit somehow gives people powers. As a normal modern human from my previous life, I was naturally interested in both the history of the fruits and how the powers transferred into the human body. Ruffle. I heard the couch opposite to me creak a bit as the girl slowly opened her eyes. I had already thrown on my seastone pendant on her, so I had no reason to worry much. Aurora POV. My name is Aurora. I need money, and a lot of it. 6 years ago I faced the cursed reality of this world. From being respected to now having to hide my face from the world. The only light in the tunnel required billions of berries to reach. I chose to become a bounty hunter. I found a very rare devil fruit and used it to escape from my fate. With the fruit, I could easily complete jobs, kill off scum and gather information to sell. I have spent 2 years in this profession and so far everything has worked well. I have already gathered 2 billion berries, I just need another billion. No enemy was able to even find me, let alone touch me. They said it was a Logia fruit, it made bounty hunting quite fast. 3 days ago I saw a new batch of bounties fly down. 5 people, all in a single crew. The Great Sin Zebek, Edward Newgate, the Earth Shaker, Black Death Shaki, Kaido of the Beasts, Sin Incarnate Damien. The captain had over 2.5 billion berries. If I could get that. No, I don't need to risk it that much. The younger boy, he was around my age, had nearly 500 million berries on his head. The other boy, well, he was too scary looking for me to fight, so I tracked this one. I eventually found him in Sabayati Archipelago. I followed him to an open clearing with lots of covers around it. He was with the woman worth nearly 700 million. If I can get these 2, then I can fulfill my goal. I said in my head as I attacked. His power. It's too much. I can't even fight back. Why can he touch me? He's too fast. These thoughts were swarming my mind as I saw him disappear, and then I saw nothing but darkness. I woke up but did not open my eyes as I felt to be in an unfamiliar setting. I could feel myself moving. No, I am going down. I try not to show much response. Perhaps I was kidnapped. Was my face shown? You can stop the act, I know you're awake. I heard a young yet sharp voice from in front of me as I opened my eyes and saw him. It's him, Damien of the Sin, I exclaimed in my head. I then immediately touched my face, my mask. You can rest assured, I haven't touched you at all. I'm sure you have a reason for your mask and all that concealing attire of yours. Though I could care less. His leisurely voice sounds out once more as he continued to read his book, not sparing me a single glance. I did check over my body. He isn't wrong. Apart from the metallic smell, I am still untouched. I gulped and then steeled my resolve. Where are you taking me? This is a ship, are we going down? I asked, trying to mask my fear. He put down his book and looked at me. He tilted his head to the side and said, well, honestly, Shaki and I chose to take you with us when we found out you were just a little girl. I frowned at his words. I am not a little girl. I am older than you. He chuckled. Well, sure. We'll arrive at Fishman Island soon. You can wait there and hitch a ride elsewhere. He then got up and went up the ladder. I thought over his words and sighed. Night realm. Now that I think about it, my body feels weak. Damien POV. I had my observation locked on her. I even kept a few insects nearby to report in case she tries anything. Well, who cares? 4 hours later. Aurora POV. This ship, it's amazing. I was astonished by the sheer size and design of this ship as I walked around. These guys are quite casual, even with a stranger on board they choose to ignore me. Or maybe I am just too weak in their eyes. I sighed. I walked into the cabin upstairs and was greeted by a nice large eatery connected to a kitchen. Nearby was a small table with Damien and the other woman, Shikuyaku, sitting. Oh, you have finally decided to join us for a meal? The woman asked as she drank out of a cup. I nodded and sat down. You aren't you angry that I tried to kill you for the money on your head? I asked, refraining from eye contact. Rahaha, you foo. Contrary to my expectations, the two laughed. I was taken aback. What is so funny? Damien smirked. Didn't you realize, you were out by a single punch of mine? I heard his words and gritted my teeth. He's right, I couldn't even track his speed that time. Well, what will you do? Will you choose to get off at Fishman Island? The woman asked. I thought it over a bit. I don't know, I responded. The youth squinted his eyes. I don't know why you need money, but you have your reasons. I don't really care, but I assume something happened and due to your lack of strength, you had to run. His words hit me hard. He seemed to have figured it all out. I too was once like you. Even now I am. I was weak once, now I am a bit stronger. I chose to defy fate and I gritted my teeth and survived. You have a powerful fruit ability. Yet your strength is simply abysmal. You know nothing about hockey and yet you tried to challenge us. Ignorance is bliss until it bites you in your ass, it will only lead to your demise. Little girl. He finished his words with a hint of mockery. My hands were shaking as I heard him go on and on. Weak. I am weak. I relied on my powers for money. And now that failed me and I could have easily died. Or worse. Damien's voice entered my head once more. Being weak is nothing to be ashamed of, staying weak is. I looked up and saw his eyes. I saw pity and a hint of empathy. What should I do? I asked in a meek voice. I hate this feeling, this weakness. I lost so much because of it. I don't want to remain so pathetic. I cried out as tears swam down my face. The huge door opened and a deep voice resounded. Gururara, I thought you were some girl who had grown too big because of a rare fruit. But maybe you do have some potential. The absurdly giant man laughed on. The boy then cut in and said, having the desire for strength and having the will to endure the journey to that point are two different things. Millions share the same fate as you. But they die all the same. What makes you different from those? If you truly want strength, you must crave it. Yearn for it, only then can you ever reach the height you so desire. My eyes widened at Damien's words. He is younger than me, yet so much stronger. Can I also reach such a level? Can I get back what was taken from me? I jumped up from my seat and looked at the three together. I took a deep breath and made my resolve. Please let me stay here. I will cook, clean or whatever. I want to become strong. Please, teach me to become strong. And then a dreadful pressure fell upon me as I felt death itself creep behind. Chapter 30. Damien POV. I look at the cloaked girl as she went over my words. Her eyes, they reminded me of myself. That desire, that greed for power. The desire to oppose the fate of the weak. But I know that millions of others have the same story yet all that awaits them is an early death. If she can't endure the road to strength, then she will die. Special Logia or not, there's no hope for such a narrow-minded approach. The girl then jumped up from her seat and slammed her right palm onto her chest and cried out. Please let me stay here. I will cook, clean or whatever. I want to become strong. Please, teach me to become strong. Damn, does she want to join Zebek's crew? If she knew who the captain was then I think she would rather jump into the sea now. Then I felt something familiar. The deathly aura from Freedom Isles. This damn old man, he did the same thing with me. Zebek waltzed into the eatery and looked at the girl. His black aura of utter despair raged out and pressed upon the bounty hunter. And immediately she felt the suffocating presence of our humble captain. Blood spurted out from her mouth as her eyes bulged. Her knees quivered in denial. She looked like she would collapse any second. I looked at her terrible appearance. She's trying her best to hold on. Zebek just doesn't hold back. I could save her, but why should I? She wants strength, but she will only find herself as a corpse or worse if her mind is not strong enough. Aurora was in and out of her consciousness. Zebek's aura was filled with hopelessness and despair. It causes one to give in to the smallest of weaknesses. The moment you yield to it is the moment you fall. But she was still desperately holding on. Too bad. I shook my head as I saw her close her eyes. Thud. Her knees gave in, she folded forwards and collapsed onto the floor. You're harsh as always, Tycho, I said as I shook my head in pity as I saw the girl. Zahaha, she had a fire in her eyes but it burns too dull. I don't need dead weight on my ship. This is the ship of the future, king of the world. My goal is to turn this world upside down. Not take a bunch of kids on an adventure. He then gazed at me. You best remember that too, brat. Boom. His eyes turned pure black as a wave of hockey stemmed out and wholly descended upon me. Xahahaha. Zebek's laughter droned on as he released his suffocating pressure, tens of times more oppressive than the one he used on me before. My eyes turned red in opposition, but it was useless. The pressure, before it was an absurd amount of weight that pushed me down in suppression. Now it focused on, not only attacking, but utterly destroying my mind in sheer despair and helplessness. An ounce of hesitation and my mind would literally explode. I grit my teeth in frustration as blood seeped down my mouth. I clenched my hands till they drew a grim red. My entire body felt like giving in as the weight of 1,000 mountains weighed me down. Then something happened. Time slowed down as my mind clicked and I realized something. The rocks pirates. The scum of the seas. This isn't some adventure for fun. Death is not uncommon on this ship. The one who commands it is a monster in flesh. He will kill and burn all those who get in his way. I have my own beliefs, but I need to remember, being on the Rock's crew is the same as walking on the edge of a cliff. If I get in his way, then he will kill me without a second thought. One Piece, it's not a fun world. It's hell itself. I have been living it as if it were the story mode of some game. I need to wake up. I was impulsive with my actions on Sabayati. I saved those slaves partially out of pity. I thought that I too could have been fated to be born like them, but regardless, I chose to yearn for power. Most of the slaves have already resigned to their fate. But in reality, there was another reason present. It was simply because I still viewed this world from the eyes of my previous life. We had wars, yes, but it was mostly peaceful. At least where I lived. But in all honesty, we had long forgotten the amount of effort it took to reach the peace we had. This world, it is different. Justice, hope, freedom. The manga showed this world as a happy-go-lucky adventure, a fun time with friends to enjoy the wild seas and reach impossible heights. But it is way worse than that. This world, the weak are crushed and thrown away, the strong are the only ones who can survive here. If I don't fix this soon, then I will just end up as another fool who died an early death. I have an enormous advantage in this world, but it will be all for naught if I continue with this perspective. It's time I wake up and accept reality. Boom. A countering crimson wave of hockey burst out of my mind as I went over my newfound conclusion. My legs which were shaking stopped. My mind cleared. My eyes finally opened. This is not a game nor some story. My path to power is that of blood, sweat, and tears. Boom. The original crimson wave radiating out of me had now changed. Before it carried raw perseverance and a certain yearning for power. But now, it had grown. Black sparks of realization thundered through as the aura grew wilder and more opposing. The weight increased as it became more controlled. More dominating. The air vibrated in a frenzy as the auras clashed. The ship itself was naturally fine. After all, it was built to withstand such things. Boom. A loud sound resounded in the huge eatery as the clash finally ended and the air calmed down. Zebek, though, had a feral grin on his face as his eyes widened in raw surprise. Xahahaha. I wasn't wrong about you, brat. X ahahaha. Dot. And then he turned around and disappeared from the vicinity. Dash. Hua. Ha. Hua. My breath was uneven and my face was pale. Dot. It seems like you have finally woken up, Damien-chan. Shaki looked at me with a smile as she said in a soothing voice. Dot. Gururara. Looks like the Navy will need to prepare for another little monster. Dot. After speaking their piece, the both of them got up and left. It seems like they too had noticed and allowed me to realize it on my own rather than for them to tell me. It is a bit harsh, but it is only right. Dot. I then turned my gaze to the collapsed girl and picked her up once more and left the area. Though a certain sound echoed in my head. Dot. Ding. Your conqueror's hockey has entered the intermediate stage. Congratulations. Underscore. 2 hours later, I am now in my room. It is in the main housing area where the main crew was. It was on the first floor beneath the deck. It had a separate entrance near the back of the ship. The girl, she was still unconscious, laying on my bed as I sat at the seat nearby. My body was perfectly still. My breathing was calm and focused, yet every breath drew in a small vortex of air. My eyes were closed as I was completely focused on my newfound realization. I had started to accept it. A different world. How odd it is to think like this now. VWOOM. My hand whizzed as a white flash occurred and something appeared in my hands. It was my mother's fruit, the dryad model of the human zone fruit type. I made a promise to my mother. To reach the peak and to have all others kneel at my feet. To burn everything to get to that point. It's time I truly accept my words. Groan. The sound of a girl groaning was heard as I put the fruit back into the inventory. I looked at the girl. She had blood all over her face before from Zebek's hockey attack. In fear of her suffocating from her blood, I had taken her mask off and removed the slightly baggy cloak. She was quite the beauty. She wore a purple dress that strapped up to her shoulders and ran down to her thighs. Her arms were covered, revealing her shoulders as long leggings. Her purple hair laid gently under her head. Though her youthful beauty was hidden under her current pathetic state. Her clothes were bloodied, some rips and tears along. Her hair was disheveled, her face marked with dry blood. She slowly opened her eyes, the amethyst-colored pupils looked around the room as she got up and it straight. It's good that you covered your face. A beauty like you would have been enslaved by those nobles had they ever seen you. A cultured man like me naturally knew how to appreciate beauty. Though my words made her jump in surprise as she finally understood her current situation. Where am I? I guess waking up not knowing where you are with a male in close proximity could be rather alerting. Perhaps I should be a little less insensitive. Nah, who cares? I gazed at the purple-haired girl. Well, you are in my room and on my bed. Shouldn't I be the one to ask why you are here? I countered. But she was flustered for one, and her mind was probably still scrambling for answers. After all, she did come after me for my bounty but ended up receiving Zebek's hockey, poor girl. Well, I'm sure you want to know what happened. I smirked. Well, our captain used his own little method to test you. Guess what? You failed. She wants strength. If I hold back then she will only go back to her ignorant self. She tried to form words but I cut her off once more. It's not that your will is weak, it's just that it is misdirected. Our crew, it isn't exactly a place you can survive. Zebek is the type of guy to burn the world down if that's what it took for him to reach the top. He cares little for anyone else, even we, his crewmates. I'm sure there is a group of people where you will fit in, but this isn't the one. I finished my little spiel. If it weren't for the long and boring ride down then I wouldn't waste my time like this. She opened her mouth to speak but no words came out. She closed her eyes in denial and grit her teeth in frustration. This girl is so damn stubborn. I can't help you much. I suggest you broaden your horizons. Understand your fruit powers. Learn hockey. Only then can you accomplish what you so desire. I said plainly. She then looked up with a hint of desperation. I want what you say, but it all feels so far. The money, it was all but a distraction. A way for me to lie to myself and try to get over my past. But after your captain's enlightenment, I now understand that in the face of absolute power, all else is irrelevant. I studied her expression. Before when she asked for help, there was nothing but desperation and despair. She saw us as a final lifeline. Though after Zebek's little show, it seems she too, had slightly opened her eyes. Her fruit power is strong. She is young and still naive of this world. Perhaps an investment would work well. With her ability, I can easily gain an eternal element of surprise. Though my train of thought halted as I scratched my chin. But I can also mimic her fruit's ability. Sybil, show me the mimic version of her power. Here ya go. Dash. Night fruit Euro no mi. Logia type. Special elemental type. Fruit rating. Star. Mimicked ability. Allows the user to open a realm that spans a large yet defined radius. User cannot be detected while in the realm, however, a slight intent will leak before exiting, allowing anyone nearby with superior observations hockey to notice your presence. User can only stay in the night realm for 5 minutes before being forced out. Dash. Like the split fruit, there are many little defects. As for this, I mean, it's not bad. It can be observed and has a time limit, but it's more like an active ability from an RPG game. But it's far better to have her on my side, or I could take her fruit. Well, let's try this first. From what I can tell, it seems so that Zebek intends to stay in Fishman Island for a while. If you are up for it, then I will help guide you for the little time we have. It will be up to you if you can keep up though. I pitched the ball. Her eyes slightly widened at my words as she looked at me with hope. Looks like it was a strikeout. My training is synonymous with torture. I will literally break you and put you back together. You will wish for death yet it will evade your pleas. It will be hell on earth. I smiled evilly as I gave her a little teaser of what's to come. She looked into my eyes, there wasn't any fear but slight hesitation. Your fruit is powerful, that's a given, but your body is weak. Very weak. Not only are you a woman but also quite ignorant. You cannot use your fruit powers without understanding your body first. That's all I'll say. If she still hesitates then I will take her fruit away. After all, she did try to kill me, so it is perfectly a reasonable compensation for my PTSD from that near-death experience to take her powers. Aurora went over my words and immediately responded. I will do it, whatever it takes, I will do it. She was now with a resolute gaze, void of any hesitation from before. I couldn't help but smirk. Perhaps this little meeting was more beneficial than I expected. She lowered her gaze and said with a slightly low voice, "Thank you. Well, let's begin your torment cough, your training." Author's Corner. Well, there it is. His realization, I needed to add this. He got his resolve after his mother's death, however, he never changed his view on the world. He saw it as a story, one where you get to alter it as you wish. But it isn't as simple as that, and that was what I wanted him to figure out. As for Aurora, her fruit powers are quite nice. Damien is also seeing this differently, not out of appreciation but rather out of its potential. He has become a bit manipulative, he is taking things more seriously. It is a change of tone that was needed considering the crew he's on. I hope you all found it satisfying and that your previous issues are laid to rest. Other than that, I also wanted him to level up his conquerors, and just like Luffy, when he too accepted the reality of Ace's death is when he would have unlocked this level. In this same way, MC also unlocked the next stage as he accepted his new reality.